Welcome back, people. This is part two with Mr. Rob Johnson.
I love you too, Dad.
It's the Look at This podcast show featuring your boy, Chris Holyfield. Look at this, look at this.
Rob, we've been talking about, you're growing up as a young kid, teenager, and everything of that nature. But the one thing that I didn't hear, or the people in this world, we didn't hear if there was a father or dad in your life, and trust me, I ain't trying to step on no toes, but like I say, real people, real stories. Like, give me that. What was that scenario like, as far as fatherhood or a dad in your life or a man in your life, as you was growing up as a teen?
Yeah. So like I said, my mom, the lady who adopted me, Pat Johnson, she was a single mom. I had older brother and sister. She raised us three kids, like I said, in Tip Trailer Park. And then my sister, she's 10 years older than me. So she had a son that's almost 30 now. So he was living with us, as a baby too. So it was what, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my mom had a boyfriend that was staying. But it was like 5 of us in a 2-bedroom trailer, man. And she never really had a husband. She did marry my sister's dad way before I even came around. So she was a single mom, so no dad there in the house, an older brother, but he wasn't up to no good. And then as far as like my biological parents go, throughout my teenage years, when I say my adopted mom, I'm gonna say my mom, because she's the only mom I ever known. So my mom never kept the fact that I was adopted from me. So from time to time, I don't know if you noticed, it's gonna take you back a little bit, Chris, you would get hit 411, right? You get hit 411, right? 411, you say, hey, I need a number for, Bob Smith, John, Michael, whatever. So I would go on and I would hit 411 and I would say, and on my adoption papers, I knew who my mom was, my biological mom, because she was the friend of the lady who adopted me. So I knew all that. I never knew who my dad was. And I feel like the lady who gave birth to me kind of guessed who my dad was. I don't think she really knew. So the story, what everybody tells me. So I had my adoption papers and I would always say like, hey, I'm looking for Gary Welchek from North Jersey. All I knew was his name and where he was from. The operator would always, now listen, I started when I was about 12 years old trying to find this guy. The operator would always ask me to spell his name, and it was cursive on my adoption paper, so I would always spell it, but I spelled it wrong. So when I was 19 years old, now I started when I was about 12 or 13. You're talking 6 years later. That's how bad I wanted to, fill that void. And this is what people understand. When you're adopted, you have no history. You understand? It's like it got wiped away from you. You don't know your bloodline. You don't know anything about your family. And that was one of the things as I was going through my teenage years. Like, I love my mom, and I'll be forever grateful for her adopting me and giving me this awesome life. But it doesn't fill the void of the missing pieces. Things that I didn't know about.
Not knowing.
Right, yeah, not knowing. Right, you don't know where you come from. Listen, honestly, I went to high school. It's a little tangent, but I went to high school with my first cousin. So the lady who gave birth to me, her brother lived one town over from me. His kids went to the same high school as me. So I was in a circle.
Y'all related?
No, I didn't know it was my first cousin. I could have dated her, married her, and had kids by her. I never knew it. We had a friend circle. Years later, when I was 21 years old, I got to realize and I got to understand who I met her dad, and it all circled around. I was like, oh. So next time we met, we were at like a family. I was trying to get to know my family lineage, where I was from. She happened to be there. So I'm like, no kidding. Like, I grew up with this girl all through high school, never knew she's literally, her dad and my biological mom were brother and sister. It's crazy. So you want to know who you are. So all my teenage years, I called 411 and tried to find out who my dad was. Chris, when I was 19, I called 411. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I said my dad's name in North Jersey, and they were like, hold for the number, please. I was like, what? I was freaking out. I'm like, no, this is not coming true. I've been chasing this for like 6, 7 years, Chris, and never getting like no Gary Welchek, no Gary. No, this lady gave me a phone number, and literally I just broke down in tears. 1 o'clock in the morning, I remember like it was yesterday, broke down in tears because it's like, wow, I'm going to find who I really am. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to find where I came from. And So I called him, left a message. Nobody answered the phone. I left him, and I was real, I was real cool. Like, I'm the man. I was real. I didn't want to I don't want to let the secret out of the bag on the voicemail. So I'm like, hey, my name is Rob Johnson. Like I heard at one time you live down in South Jersey, and you may be able to answer some questions about family that I'm looking for. So all I said. Well, come to find out, he would never call. So his wife called me on the sly without my dad knowing and got all this information from me. We talked. I told her I was looking for. She hung up the phone. She goes, well, hopefully I'll be able to talk to Gary, was his name, and hopefully he'll give you a call. Maybe he can help you find whatever you're looking for. She told me when she hung up the phone, she looked at him. She goes, man, that guy is calling to tell you that he's your son. That's what my stepmom told my dad, And he was like, no way, I ain't have no kid. Chris, he was from North Jersey. He was only in South Jersey for an 11-month stint as the zoning and planning guy for city of Bridgeton. He was only down here for 11 months and he got fired and went back to Rahway in North Jersey where he was from. He was only here for 11 months, but he worked part-time at the liquor store and that's where they met. That's where my mom met my dad at the liquor store. I'm a liquor baby boy. But anyway, so here I am, 19 years old. They agreed to meet. They came down to Atlantic City. My wife and I went to Atlantic City. We were only dating at the time. She agreed to go with me, and my wife's father went with me. Because we were 19 and 18. We were kind of young, nervous. We didn't know who these people were. So Heather's dad agreed to go down to with us, and we met him, and we hit it off, just like you and I. We hit it off that night, and we ended up doing the parental testing and all that. And he ended up being my dad. I didn't know at all. I didn't know if my mom just put a name on the adoption papers. I didn't know. So something I was chasing for years, Chris. You talk about some days you want to give up. That was one thing in my life that I was never willing to set aside or go away from, was finding who I really was and where I came from. It's so important. And it made such a big impact in my life. And I was able to have one of the most amazing friendships with this guy for 10 years. Like the first thing I wanted, and I told him, he lived in Broadway, and I went up to him. I went to his house. We were hanging out one night, and I said, listen, I called him Gary for a while, and eventually I ended up calling him Dad. But this is when I was calling. I said, Gary, listen, you got to understand. I want to be able to tell you this one thing. Please don't ever feel like you owe me anything. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted him to know that all I wanted from him was a relationship moving forward. To whatever degree it was good with him, it was good with me. I didn't want to be pushy. I wasn't mad at him. I didn't feel like he owed me for all these lost years of not being a part of my life and signing the adoption certificate. All I wanted him to do was accept me for who I was then and move forward as just a friend of mine. Just be my friend. And I'm telling you, he became my best friend for 10 years. And then, sad to say, my dad on his 60th birthday, he turned 60 in November. So he turned 60 in November. The following April, he passed away of a massive heart attack on his way to work and never made it. It was funny because he would call the pizza shop and talk to me on Monday nights about football. We were, he's a Giants, all that kind of stuff. Mets. He was anti-Philly with everything. So every time he would call Monday night and, get me and, talk about baseball, he would always call and just ridicule me about my sports teams all the time. And the night he called on Monday night, I was so busy, Chris, I couldn't take the call. I just said, hey, Dad, I'm super busy. I'm here by myself. I'll have to catch up to you tomorrow. And here I was Tuesday morning at work, and at 9:30 in the morning, I'll never forget it. My stepmom called. I picked up the phone and she's crying and said my dad passed away. And I never got an opportunity to just thank him and tell him how much I loved him and cared for him for the moment that he allowed me to be a part of his life. And in those times, I was able to meet his brother, his sister, which are my aunt and uncle, and I have a biological sister by him that I was able to meet, and it was life-changing. So with all that being said, if there's anybody watching this podcast and they are adopted or they were raised by an aunt and uncle, or, their parents weren't in the picture, don't give up. I always tell people, don't give up, man. It's never too late, and the joy and the satisfaction that it brought me to know where I came from and who I was a part of, literally changed my life forever. I'm super grateful that I had that opportunity and that I didn't give up. You know what I mean? I didn't give up on chasing that down.
No, that's a blessing in disguise, and the fact that you did get the opportunity to bring this circle back around of the journey that in life that you were living with a woman adopting you and not knowing who your father was, and the fact that you did get to at least have that connection, whether it would have been for 5 seconds or 5 to 10 years like you had. It, yeah,
Yeah.
it's at least those chapters and that journey of that life is fulfilling because you know. Where if you don't never know, you always wonder every day, wondering that like if you came across that woman that was supposed to be your mom or that guy, that man that's supposed to be your dad, and every day you're walking by and that actually could be that person, but you don't know. But you had the opportunity before the chapters were written and done and sealed. You had that opportunity.
See, I was so grateful. I got to meet him a couple months before Heather and I got married. So him and his wife and his granddaughter were actually able to come to my wedding, which was cool.
Okay.
Like just a couple months before, I didn't even know who my dad was, and here we go. My dad was able to show up to my wedding. I have him in my video and my photos. He got to see Kylie being born and Mackenzie. They called him pop up. What they call him, pop up clown nose. My dad had a picture of him and his wife on the side of his fridge when they dressed up as clowns one year. From when my kids were little, they called him my mom pop up clown nose. So crazy. So my dad's been dead what 9 or 10. Yeah, about 9 years, 10 years, and they still remember him. So I'm just glad that I was able to open that chapter. And so many people don't want to visit that. They're afraid. They're afraid, and I'm like, man, don't be afraid. Open that book. Open that chapter and go for it. You could always close it. You know what I mean? We have the ability to accept or decline. Things that go on in our lives. But I would tell anybody, man, take the opportunity to and you just never know the outcome. Just be optimistic.
No, that's good stuff. But all that being said, man, I mean, it's been such a great journey in these 30 minutes. We've been talking. I mean, you went and worked at a pizza parlor, ended up being an owner of the pizza parlor. Now here, 20 years, have 3 beautiful kids, beautiful wife, just a welcoming family. And we talk, and we have this strong brotherhood between the two of us. You told me that you got a trailer, you got an extension to your business. Get in a short, very short, brief situation. Tell me about the pizza trailer that you have now on top of the other building.
Everything that we're doing. So 7 years ago too, when you're good, but let me just put this in: when you're a good budget, you are good with your money, right? I was able to start a real estate business 7 years ago. April, in 3 days, it'll be 7 years that I started. And I'm happy in 7 years, I made myself from being when you're an entrepreneur and self-made, when you have your self-employed, got to be careful with your retirement and things like that. And 7 years ago, I started a real estate business that now makes me monthly passive income to the point where I can actually look to retire. But 24 years old, I bought my pizza shop, and we've had it for 20 years. And I just wanted to do something different. So I bought a pizza trailer. It got made down by you in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Is that close to you?
2 hours, hour and 45, 2 hours. Yes, south.
So I ordered a concession nation, made the trailer. I was able to build it from the floor up. It's just a pizza trailer, man, on wheels. So it's just like my brick and mortar pizza shop, but now I'm rolling and I'm able to do like school assemblies. We go and teach the kids how to, we talk about the trade. We talk about, self-employment. We talk about entrepreneurship. I take mixers smaller mixers into the classroom, show the kids how to do a science project. And then they come out to the trailer and they get to make their own pizzas. So we do that. We do birthday parties. We do community events. We do homeless events. We are rolling, brother. We just do whatever we can do to make people smile, feel good about themselves. And, we just do what we got to do to have fun.
And that's what it is. Changing lives is fun, though. Really, it really is. If you're really like wholeheartedly like into what you do, and understand the ups and downs of it, because there's a lot of downs to changing lives, and not that you want it to be. It's just because of other people have blockage, and it's like, I'm just here to change lives. What's the problem? And it's a fight. But when there's no fight to negativity, people are like, come on in. They applaud that. But when you want to change lives, They got a stop sign, got the whistle, got the little reflector vest on. What are you doing? I'm here to change lives. Why?
Saying, you know what the saying is when it's too good to be true, it usually is. And there's not many people doing good, to be honest. So it's always like, okay, is there a catch? Is there what is like, are you literally genuinely trying to do good? Chris, there's not too many people in the world that do what you do with the heart that you have. And that's why people look at you and go, what's the story behind this? And you say, yo, there's no story except my story. I'm here to let kids know that no matter what they look like and what they're going through, that they were made for purpose and it can be anything they want to do. That's your story and that's your message. But you know what? People always think there's more to it because there's not a lot of genuine people out there like you, brother.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And it's tough. It's tough.
That's why you get that. It's unfortunate, but that's why you get that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So, two things before we end. Give me a big shout out. I know the family, they're upstairs or they're somewhere around the house. Give me a big shout out because I want the people to see, because they'll see a family picture at the end of this episode. But give a shout out, to your beautiful wife, your beautiful daughters, and my nephew Dallas. Give me the rundown. Give me the rundown, and then you want to do something for people with your book. So give me that in 18 point short seconds.
18.4 short seconds. Shout out to my wife with that. What is that? You want me to tell them that you say what's up? You want me to? I don't know what you want me to do about that. They're not down here. They're not about this, man. They're upstairs. Heather's
Anyway, I'll give it. Hey, Heather, his beautiful wife. She's so awesome. I love her to death.
She's so awesome. I love her to death.
I cook better than her. I do. And Rob says, Rob says, hey man,
yo, she is gonna kill you. She is gonna.
But
kill
hey,
you.
I love her to death. And me and Kai, wow, we go way back because she was there. She was the oldest, and Uncle Chris. Yeah, we like. Uncle Chris, when you come, you're gonna come by the house. You're gonna come to my school. This is what time I take lunch, and we've always had that relationship. And Kinsey, as she's gotten older, she got the like, oh, okay, Uncle Chris, because she was younger. She was the baby before Dallas, and then Dallas had me building tents with sheets and stuff of that nature. Love this family, man. And that's the beautiful thing is when you can travel around the country and meet people that you never knew. And I always tell people, best friends were strangers at one time, and people don't get that. It's like you're not born with like, hey, it's my best friend. No, that's created. That's created over a period of time of, being real and authentic, with people and organic. And it's just like, and we've had that from day one. I mean, from the time you picked me up from the hotel, it was from day one. It was like, yo, man, you don't have to stay in the hotel while you're here on tour. You come to my house. And and then we went down to pizza parlor and all this stuff, man. And I'm so grateful. And before we end, my brother, I want you to tell people what you have to offer about your book, because we can go on for another 3 days with your story. Oh, yeah. But you were telling me earlier, before we came on the podcast, what you want to do. And so people, that when you watch this podcast and you want this man's book, he's going to tell you how you can get the book, because he has something like, he's doing something that nobody does. He's a self-published author and everything else, but he's about to do something that's going to rock your world. If you're interested, listen to this podcast with Rob Johnson, episode 6. Take it home, Rob. Tell them about your book. Tell them what you want to do.
What you want to do. Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, Chris, for having me. It was amazing, brother. It's always good to chop it up with you. Like I was telling you earlier, so I wrote a book. It's called Abandoned, Not Broken. And the message is that, no matter how your story starts, we get to write the final chapter. We get to control how it ends. So I might have been abandoned in the beginning, but I didn't let it break me. And I want that to be an encouragement to everybody. I wrote a book. It's from my life from the time I was born to I was 40 years old, all the ups and downs, all the good things and bad. And I want to offer to your listeners, if they want a copy of the book, they can email me, get a hold of you. My email is robgetsresults@gmail.com. If they email me and say, hey, Mr. Johnson, hey, Mr. Rob, I want a copy of that book, and they leave me their address, I'm going to send them a copy of my book for free. For free. It ain't about money. Listen, it's not about money. It's about the message.
I expect you guys to DM me. We will have his email out there because you don't have to go through me. But if you go through me, I'm going to make sure it happens real quick because you know what? He's on speed dial. But you want that book. You want that book. It's coming to you. You heard what he said. FREE. He wants to change your life. He wants you to be inspired.
It's not the money, it's the message.
Real people, real stories.
I'm looking forward to it.
Real people, real stories. To look at this podcast, Rob Johnson, live on Zoom from Violin, New Jersey, here in Palm Bay, Florida, baby. Rob, I love you, man. And we coming in June. We coming in June. We coming in June when the weather in New Jersey gets right. So your nephew and my nephew, they can swim in your pool. And
it opens up in May, so we're good. Anytime after like Memorial.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Okay, people. Hey, coming to an end of this 6th episode to look at this podcast with my guy, my brother, my dude. Man, I love this guy, Rob Johnson and his family. We love you, Rob. And I look forward to seeing you in a few months. And keep doing what you do, Rob, because you rock, man. You my guy, dude. Like, you my guy. You're my guy.
That.
Real talk. I appreciate you, man.
Got it, brother.
Hey, don't forget, y'all, DM me. I'm going to have his email address out there. You want a free book. He'll sign it and send it to you. Rob, I love you, man.
All right, love you too, brother.
Okay,
We'll
man.
talk to you.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Thanks out.
Peace. Great stuff. Good story.
Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this.